With a net worth of $100 million and several successful companies under his belt, this young founder's streak of entrepreneurial successes is nothing short of amazing. Many founders today go through failures and failures before finding an inkling of success. But the thing that separates the good from the great are those who are willing to get back up after failing and keep trying over and over again. In today's video, we are going to talk about the successful serial entrepreneur and former Y Combinator partner, Justin Khan. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe and hit the like button so you'll be notified anytime we have a new video. Let's begin. On July 16th, 1983, Justin Khan was born to Chinese immigrant parents in Seattle, Washington. Justin Khan was an extremely shy kid. Since childhood, he hated to go on stage to give speeches. In 8th grade, he was supposed to give a speech, but he was so shy that he had to cover his face so that no one would see him. This carried over to college, where he went through entire semester-long seminars without speaking once. Justin Khan was a highly intelligent kid who learned advanced math, but he didn't learn how to program in college. In fact, he studied physics and philosophy. He found philosophy interesting and learned to write extremely well in college. He graduated from Yale University in 2005. After graduating from Yale University, Khan and his friend Emmett Shear worked together to launch a web calendar startup called Kiko. Kiko was designed to combine the power of Microsoft Outlook with the modern web sensibilities of Google's then new email product, Gmail. Khan and his friends started learning to build the product from the dorm room. Khan found it hard to learn about programming and had no idea how to work on it, so he took help from friends and by Googling JavaScript tutorials to learn to program. He spent days learning about how to drag and drop different appointments on the calendar and finally succeeded to build a prototype. Khan had no idea about the calendar and thought it would not work for him as it did not seem super compelling. He and his friends were not using the calendar themselves and didn't know how to find anyone for feedback. After a year, Khan got funding from a program called Y Combinator that was just starting out. Khan was amazed to see that investors were eager to lend money for his company Kiko. So he decided to work on the startup full-time, and the Y Combinator fund kept him and his co-founders going. But there was a series of failures that Justin Khan had to embrace. After a year of disappointment, Khan was still struggling to produce something, and people didn't take much interest in his products. Finally, 14 months later, Khan decided to sell the company. He decided to return the money to the investors from the sale of the company. Selling the company became another issue as they were not aware of how to sell it. But somehow, he came up with an idea of selling the company on eBay. He planned to sell the company for $50,000, but the expectations grew when the bids went higher than expected. The company was sold for $258,000, and this was a huge achievement. Khan admitted later that it was his lack of technical skills that became the reason to sell the company. His poor communication skills were also a reason he couldn't resonate with customers and identify what they wanted from the product. He was a little disappointed, but in 2006, Justin Khan started another company, Justin.tv, and launched it in 2007 with fellow friends Michael Siebel, Emmett Shear, and Kyle Vogt. Surprisingly, the company scored some major headlines. Justin Khan broadcasted his day-to-day routine on Justin.tv, providing a 24/7 live video feed of himself and his co-founders, which were 4 programmers in an apartment. Most of the daily broadcasting was extremely boring, and although it was very difficult to make his reality TV show, the team kept broadcasting for 6 months. There were some interesting moments, including on March 2007, when the cops came to Justin Khan's apartment. One of the viewers had decided to pull a late-night prank on the Justin.tv team. The next night, 6 fire trucks showed up at the apartment building. Now, you have to remember that this was at a time when people were not into social media, so it was difficult to make an audience and carry on with the program. Although there were some cool moments, as mentioned before, most of the show was actually not interesting in any way, as all they did was feature Khan and his team programming. Also, people streamed from their desktops or laptops as no 4G phones were available at that time. And the streaming was very bad and people started complaining about it. Khan was devastated at this point in time. Everything he could think of was failing. Justin Khan often used alcohol to escape from the depression and anxiety. He became an alcoholic and found peace from it temporarily, but it actually prevented him from actualizing his 100% self. In fact, he once quoted, "As a young founder in high-stress situations, I often used alcohol to escape facing things. I've struggled with this for a long time, and while I think I've gotten better over time, I believe that this is the last thing preventing me from actualizing my 100% conscious self." Now, hard work never gets unnoticed by the universe. The founders of Justin.tv stuck it out as they believed in livecasting. To survive as a business, Justin.tv would have to change. Because in Silicon Valley, there's no shame attached in starting in the wrong direction, because every failure is just another opportunity for inspiration. In October 2007, Khan opened a door to his destiny by launching a new channel, Justin.tv, to other broadcasters. This allowed anyone to broadcast video online. Users were encouraged to broadcast a wide variety of user-generated live video content called broadcasts. Justin Khan stopped broadcasting himself, and Justin.tv relaunched into its later form as a network of thousands of various channels. 3 years later, Justin.tv had raised $7.2 million in venture capital and was claiming 31 million unique users per month. But the problem was that the company stopped growing, and Khan was left worried about how to get it going again. In 2010, the company began working on 2 more projects. One day, Khan and Steve Huffman, co-founder of Reddit, broadcasted themselves playing Xbox, which soon developed into a new project for the company. A small team was dedicated to focusing on the new gaming arm of the live streaming company. In a matter of 6 months, Twitch was launched. Meanwhile, Justin.tv lost its pace. At one point, Twitch was just another video category on Justin.tv to allow Justin.tv users to stream themselves playing video games, but soon after realizing that one category was finding more viewers than all other categories combined, Twitch was spun off and Justin.tv would head to the graveyard. users were given a month to transfer their Justin.tv accounts over to Twitch to keep their usernames. In 2014, Khan and his co-founders decided to sell the company to Amazon for $970 million. Justin Khan's idea of live streaming himself evolved into a near $1 billion acquisition, and he made money beyond his wildest dreams. His entrepreneurial ventures did not end there. Some would meet success and some would meet failure, but he would never stop trying new ideas. In 2015, Khan with his co-founder friend Randu Linkage discovered a Reddit-style electronic music discovery platform, The Drop. The open-source site lets users submit SoundCloud tracks which the community can vote on, creating a frontal page playlist on the most upvoted tracks. In 2017, Khan launched Atrium, which was the third startup. The project started with a bad experience of dealing with traditional legal services as a business founder. At that time, Khan was based in San Francisco. Atrium began legal services and fundraising advice for entrepreneurs using both lawyers and software. The business raised $75 million in funding from investors, which also included Y Combinator, Anderson Horowitz, and Sound Ventures. After 3 years in the business, Khan announced that the business needed restructuring to accommodate growth into new business services. He let all the startup staff go, which was more than 100 people, and planned to return $75 million that the company had raised to investors. Atrium's legal team then formed a separate legal firm and took all the former Atrium clients in. Justin Khan's net worth today is $100 million and is still growing. He has learned a lot from 4 companies, 5 projects, and is still moving in his life, no matter how many failures he faced and how many times he had to sell his companies. But every time he wanted to improve more and more. He recognized himself and wanted to build bigger and better companies than the ones he left behind. He continues to make new milestones and his strengths keep growing. For better outcomes with his health and business, Justin Khan keeps a daily gratitude journal, practices meditation, and visits a therapist. Here are some of the top quotes from Justin Khan. You need to just get started. If you never get started, you'll never be successful. Surround yourself with people who do what you want to do, and eventually you'll wake up to find yourself doing the same. My advice is to flip a coin. If you regret the way it landed, then go with your gut. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Our channel focuses on inspirational and motivational stories that focus on holistic health, meditation, and daily 1% improvement. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Also, make sure you check out one of Justin Khan's favorite books, Ghengis Khan and the Making of the Modern World, one of the greatest books on entrepreneurship of all time. The startling true history of how one extraordinary man from a remote corner of the world created an empire that led the world into the modern age. The link is in the description below. So, how will you embrace failure like Justin Khan to find your later successes? Will you give up or keep going until you find success? Drop a comment below with your thoughts, and we'll be sure to address it in our next video. Until then, see you next time.